Before we start today, I'd like to ask a favour. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Life lesson number 1. Now, this life lesson has the potential to change your life. That's a bold statement. But when I first come across this principle, it was revolutionary, especially to me, because I can assure you this lesson will increase your capacity to communicate. That's the potential to get people to see you in a completely different light, help you to get more out of your life, and at its core, pillars many of the other life lessons that I've been speaking of. So how can I make such a bold statement about something that some would argue is a difficult thing to obtain? Because life lesson number 1 comes from a success principle from the author Stephen Covey. And this life lesson is seek first to understand before being understood. It means before entering any discussion or communication, you should first seek to understand from someone else's perspective. And it can be very, very difficult, especially if you've got a point to put across. I see this in many situations where someone is trying to get their point across, so they don't really listen to the other person. So in communication, you ask a question first. And your job is not to, and at its core, this life lesson comes down to your ability to listen. You're listening with the intent to understand as opposed to the intent to reply. Because if we understand someone else's perspective, we understand their situation, it will enhance our ability to communicate. Because we all want to feel valued, respected, heard. But this puts the emphasis on somebody else and not you. And this is the difficulty. This is where people have a struggle because they're afraid they're not going to get heard. They're afraid they're not going to get respected. They're afraid they're not going to get their point across when utilizing life lesson number 1. And the easiest way to deal with this is to understand that if you understand the other person, they're going to understand you. And you've got to have faith in this process that this is going to happen. And it takes practice to start with. It's going to be difficult just to all of a sudden start communicating this way because your natural response is I want to get my point across. I want them to understand where I'm coming from. That's most people's natural stance. We're looking at it from I mode. I suppose this is about me. This isn't about you. This is about the other person. It's understanding the other person first, and then you can get your point across. And whilst during that communication, you want to get your point across. There's a specific thing you want to get across to someone. And you've asked the question and they're talking, just write something down to remind you and have faith that you'll remember because you've written it down. You only need one word just to bring you back to that one thought. And this is a skill, and once honed, can have dramatic effects. So this is how it works. We're having a conversation. I ask you questions. You're giving me answers. I'm listening with the intent to understand, not to reply. And I'm picking up what you're saying. And then and once you've finished talking, I then repeat it back to you in the words that you would use, not the words I would use. Because I want to understand you and I want you to feel that you're understood. Because we're all like that. If we feel that we've been understood, it has a dramatic effect on how we respond to other people. I cannot stress how important this life lesson is, how dramatically life-changing it can be with all your communications, with anything that you want to achieve, whether it's in business, whether it's in your personal life, with your kids. It doesn't matter. If you do this, I promise you, you will see a notable difference in your relationships. These life lessons have been about a sort of structure in life of things to be paying attention to that are going to enhance your life overall. Because we all want stress-free lives. No one goes out and go, I want lots more stress. Most people are trying to de-stress their life. And life is difficult enough as it is nowadays. But with the way we communicate and the bombardment of social media, bombardment of stuff online, you can't go anywhere without some sort of bombardment of information, people's opinions. You come from that place of seeking first to understand before being understood. Just watch how everything changes.